So here's the RPD that I've currently deployed on my OAC. It has a few subject areas. In order to enable usage tracking, I need to add a few definitions to the physical layer of this model. So let me create a database object, call it usage tracking, choose the database type as Oracle 12c. Next, I create a connection pool, call it UT connection pool. The data source can point to any database. The schema just needs to have the necessary privileges to create a table and insert records into it. UT user is the schema on my database where I want to create the usage tracking tables. Now optionally, I can create a physical schema. The physical schema name should be the same as the database schema name. So let me save my RPD. Now in my OAC, I go and deploy this RPD. I choose to replace the data model and I deploy the RPD with the UT details that I just created. The next step is to configure usage tracking parameters in the system settings. There are a few parameters related to usage tracking. So I need to provide the parameters here with the same names that I've used in my RPD. So let me look at my RPD and make a note of the names that I've used. The connection pool has to be a fully qualified name, which is the database name dot connection pool name. Physical query table name. This is the table where the physical queries sent to the database will be logged. Again, it has to be a fully qualified name, so that's the database name dot physical schema name dot table name. So physical queries is the name of the table that it will create. Similarly, physical table name is where the logical queries will get logged. UT max number of rows has a default value of 0, which means there is no purging of your UT records. You can set it to any value, so records can get purged beyond that value. Once you set these properties, the system prompts you to restart the server so that these changes can take effect. So let's restart the server. Once the server restarts, usage tracking should be enabled on my environment. So I have several DB projects in my catalog. Let me click on a few of them to generate some UT and see how these get tracked. So this is a DB project that is sourced from a subject area. I open a DB project that is sourcing from an XSA. So let me just click through a few of these canvases to generate some usage. I will also open the classic home so I get to my dashboards which have some answers reports. Let me go to the database schema that I configured for usage tracking in my RPD. I notice that these two tables have been created by BI server to log the various queries that are generated for all the usage. The table names are what I specified in the system settings. The logical queries table has information about all the logical queries fired, which user fired these queries, the subject area or the XSA that the report sources from, the start and end time, and the actual logical query. The physical queries table has details about the physical query that is fired against the database, the number of rows returned, the time taken to execute these queries, etc. Now all this is very useful information. Now once I have this information in the table, I can analyze it in DB by creating a connection to this database. So I create a connection to the UT database. Next I create a data set. Choose the UT user schema. And I pick the logical queries table. I can now go and analyze what are the various logical queries that were generated. For example, I can look at how many queries were fired across a different time. I can see how many queries were fired against each subject area or an XSA.